A shock is built, it's kind of like built like your motor. I mean, it's got a piston in it, it's got working oil in it, it's got seals, which is like a piston ring in it. And really, the most use or most wear that a shock gets on a race car is actually going to and from the racetrack. So, if you've got your car tied down in your trailer and you're driving 80 to 100 miles to a racetrack, you got to figure you got 80 to 100 miles of the car oscillating on the shocks inside the trailer. So they actually get, even if you only race the car a few times, if you're towing a long way with the car, you get a lot of wear in them. On how often you should change or have the shock service, a few things you need to watch is if the shock's ever been bottomed out or if it's got dirt or something on the shaft on it, it'll leak these seals up. So watch and make sure you don't have any oil leakage or seepage around here. A fine film's pretty natural. But if it actually got droplets coming out, it's time to send in and get serviced. As far as just a maintenance service, once a season, if you're not racing a lot, once every other season, but look at it like you do your engine. If you got to freshen your motor every so often, you got to change your oil so often. Shock's not any different. A few things you need to watch on these is, especially on the rear shocks, you get contaminant on the threads. So from the grit, the rubber dust and the oil dust from the racetrack, you actually get quite a bit of grit on these. So if you go to adjust the spring and you turn it and there's a lot of grit in the threads, it'll actually bind up. I've seen guys ruin the shock bodies on the shocks just because they tried to clean them or turn them before they cleaned them up. The other thing you need to do maintenance-wise is make sure these heims rotate pretty freely. Same deal. They'll gall up from debris and usage on the racetrack too.
Yeah, they'll just get dry from possibly washing the cars, or if it's an open trailer, you're going to drive home in the rain at some point in time. So that's a good point.
Yeah, absolutely. And pretty common for people to use WD-40 on these. WD-40 is not a lubricant. It's a water displacement. So if you can use a true lubricant on the monoballs, that's a really good thing.
Yeah, I would think that would be a maintenance item, maybe like doing your 4-link heim joints or your ladder bar heims. Wouldn't want to do it every week, but you certainly would think maybe a couple times a year if you're racing almost every weekend. If you're going to do your heims on the linkage, you probably ought to drop a shock and with a screwdriver, move the monoball around a little bit and hit it with some lubricant and just keep that stuff freed up.
Yeah, good point. Absolutely. Another thing, as far as maintenance, kind of maintenance still, we talked about gas pressure earlier, but we didn't really talk about what kind of gas to run in them. The most common thing is to put nitrogen in the shock, or you can use CO2. I've seen you can probably use nitrous or any kind of a dry gas, but you don't want to use air out of your air tank. Air has a lot of moisture in it, and as it builds heat, it builds pressure. So try to stay with like nitrogen or CO2 type of gas in them.
Absolutely.